Whoa!
Hey guys, Call the Otaku here, and the Crow Reboot released its first trailer, and it is definitely a movie that is coming out whether we want it or not. Yeah, much like everyone else on the internet, I have my reservations about this new Crow Reboot that we're getting from Lionsgate. Did this need to happen? No. But it's the 30th anniversary, and damn it, we gotta bleed some form of revenue out of the poor saps that hold this cult classic in high regard. And that's the vibe that I got from this trailer, a soulless cash grab meant to do nothing more than line Lionsgate's purse. A trailer is supposed to sell you on the film by giving you a small sample of the film's tone. And what I felt watching this trailer was not optimism. Nowhere better to start this little dissection than with the film's tone itself. The trailer starts with a drone shot of Detroit, and already, just a few frames into the trailer, something didn't sit right with me. Detroit in the original looked dirty, chaotic, like all hell broke loose because of Devil's Night. It perfectly sets the tone for how the rest of the film is going to feel. Detroit in the reboot looks too clean and controlled. It already loses the Gothic atmosphere the original is so well known for, and what's worse is that it seems like something the rest of the trailer doesn't try to change. How do you advertise a Gothic movie and not give it a Gothic tone? It completely sidesteps your target audience. The Crow was a goth awakening for so many people that when those same people tell you that your version of The Crow isn't goth enough, you know you screwed up somewhere. Another issue I have is the fact that it's a retelling of Eric's story. I know it's a reboot, but The Crow is such a bottomless well of possibility, it just feels lazy to adapt Eric Draven again. As of this trailer's release, there are a total of 27 people who were brought back by crows in the comics. They could have given us an original story with an original crow, still title it simply The Crow, and we would have been satisfied. But no, screw creativity. Let's play it safe and stick with the character that most associates with the property and shoot ourselves in the proverbial foot. Hollywood is so much fun. On the subject of Eric Draven,
Look how they mess with my boy.
oh god, where do I start? First, the tattoos. What? The trailer is set to Post Malone's Take What You Want From Me, a song that I already thought would be a pretty good fit for The Crow. Here, it's extra appropriate because Eric has almost as much ink as Post Malone does. I don't think I need to be the one to say it, but both in the graphic novel and the movie, Eric doesn't have tattoos. Even if he did, I think he would have better taste than this. Second, the hair. This is more of a nitpick based on personal preference, but Eric Draven with short buzzed hair? I think we found the 8th deadly sin. Third, his personality. Again, this is just a vibe that I get from the trailer, but Eric Draven feels off. Eric in the original film was a songwriter and a musician. He is naturally poetic, which is evident in both his dialogue and actions. Even the way he enacts his vengeance is poetically executed, turning Tintin into a pincushion with his own knives, causing the junkie fun boy to OD by stabbing him with his heroin needles, blowing T-Bird to pieces with his own explosives, throwing Skank out of a window, causing him to fall to his death, similar to how Skank threw Eric out of his window when he was murdered. Eric is a vengeful Romeo, seeking retribution for the senseless murder and grape of his Juliet. Eric in the reboot trailer, you can kinda feel the romance driving him, but the poetic nature isn't there. Maybe we'll see more of that in the final product. There was a small clip showing Eric on stage at an opera house, throwing what looked to be severed heads into the crowd, but that feels a little more on the nose. Now, let's talk about the villain. This guy. He doesn't have a name on IMDb, and he sure as hell isn't top dollar, so Who the hell is this guy? Don't know, don't really care. All I do know is that there appears to be some sort of paranormal thing going on with him. Either that or he's a drug kingpin and he's overdosing this girl to silence her, and it's filmed all trippy. Honestly, kind of underwhelmed by this villain here, mainly because he doesn't look all that interesting. He's a suit, a blue blood, and from the looks of it, that's all he's going to be. The book didn't really have a puppet master big bad, and comparing the guy to Top Dollar, there is no contest on who's the more dynamic and interesting villain. Then again, it's pretty hard to compete with James Gammon in terms of menace. My point being, Top Dollar had presence. This white bread in a two-piece suit does not. For me, anyway. And now, the issue that irks me the most about this trailer, and more than likely the entire film as a whole, the execution of Eric and Shelley's deaths. In the book, Eric and Shelley weren't killed in some mastermind's plot, or hell, even collateral damage in a larger plan. They were killed in an act of random street violence. In the first film, they added a little more reason for their deaths and kept the reasons somewhat insignificant. They refused to vacate their apartment. On both sides, their deaths were tragic, sudden, and unprovoked, something the reboot wants to curb stomp. In the trailer, it blatantly tells us that Eric and Shelley were murdered because Shelley witnessed Whitebread doing something heinous. The comics had no lead antagonist, and sure, the original had Top Dollar, who signed off on the eviction and basically their deaths. But he never really personally met Eric until after he crashed his Devil Knights meeting. Here, Whitebread is literally staring Eric in the eyes as he kills both of them with a smile. It completely sucks out the tragedy for me. What made Eric and Shelley's deaths so heartbreaking was how senseless and needless their deaths were. By giving it too much purpose, you negate the feeling of sorrow felt before. And I'm not gonna lie, it might be the first nail in the film's coffin for me. Now for the smaller offenders, just some nitpicks, but still strange and bizarre additions and changes that just don't feel in place. The Spirit Realm. Why is there a Spirit Realm? Who is this old guy? Since the crows are guides to the underworld, is this like the Grim Reaper or something? Why is this whole spirit world thing necessary? It wasn't before, so why add it now? What is up with this scene? Maybe it's some kind of rehab? Is Eric like a former rehabilitated user in this film? If so, that seems like a massive betrayal of who Eric is. Eric bleeds black viscous fluids now. That's something. I don't like how often we see Eric without his makeup in scenes where he's clearly supposed to be a reborn. Since you wanted to play it so safe and reboot Eric's story again, why forgo the makeup that's a recognizable staple of the character? Now, believe it or not, I have managed to find some forms of positives. I had to dig very deep to find them under the mounds of bullshit, but I found them. The most controversial one being that I think Bill Skarsgård could make a decent Eric Draven. He definitely looks like he bulked up his physique for the role. Give him some longer hair, some better grease paint, and axe the tattoos, and I think he'd do a decent job. The cinematography looks great. Rupert Sanders knows his way around a movie set, and it's nice to see he's bringing the same level of care here. The violence looks a little excessive, but I'm sure my disturbed ass will get a kick out of the gore. The fights look like they'll play into Eric's immortality a little bit more, if the scene where he shoots a guy through himself is anything to go by. Are these positives enough to raise the movie just high enough to where it's not great but kinda fun? I don't know. Overall, the trailer isn't really selling me on this reboot. It just seems plagued by poor decision-making, a lack of creativity in terms of plot, and feels kinda cash grabby just to make money off of an anniversary. It almost feels like the movie is dead on arrival, which is a damn shame since I really do enjoy The Crow, both the first movie and the comics. Hopefully it's just a case of having a bad first trailer, but I'm not gonna hold much optimism until we get the next trailer in a couple months. So that's my personal takeaway from the Crow reboot trailer. Leave what your thoughts were in the comments below, even though I'm fairly certain I know what they are. And pray for a miracle, because it can't rain all the time, but this was definitely a sour downpour.